Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Tea4T. I am Frankie. My pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Sipta. My pronouns are he, him. And we want to open this off with addressing some really tragic events that our community has been facing recently. Um, so within like only the past month, there have been numerous deaths of trans women of color. Is it only black trans women?
So there's specifically been five trans black women that have been murdered in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And also specifically in the past few days, this week, there have been three black trans women who have been murdered.
Yeah. So their names are Ashanti Carmen from Maryland, um, Claire Legato from Ohio, and Malaysia Booker from Philadelphia,
Hmm.
and
I think she was
and
from Ohio.
Michelle Tamika Washington from Philadelphia. Oh wait, Malaysia Booker from Texas. Sorry.
Yeah, you got a little mixed up
Yeah.
over here.
Um, but it just sucks so bad, and it shows a lot about the state of our world that within like a week, so many people have died.
Yeah, and specifically, Malaysia's Malaysia Booker's murder is getting a lot of attention right now on the internet, because just a few weeks ago, I think about a month ago or so, there was a video of her getting beaten up by a group of
Yeah.
men that went viral. It literally was viral. Everyone was showing it to me.
And
Like, it was
nobody.
everywhere, and it was just like not taken seriously. And like the guy who like beat her up was taken into jail, and he's already out. He's already free. So like nothing was taken seriously. She was already beat up to the point where she was like almost fucking murdered then, and then they were just like, they didn't hear it, and now she's dead. And I feel like this truly could have been something preventable and something
Yeah.
that did not need to happen. And it's just so tragic. uh,
Protect your fellow trans woman and the trans people around you, because like you never know when something like this could happen.
yeah, it's just really, 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 really awful and so saddening for me. Um, and really makes me think about the privilege that I have.
Yeah.
Um, as somebody who is not trans feminine and who is white,
Hmm.
and even while I am trans, I still have so much more safety compared to other people in my community, and really makes me um, want to
Better
be a
allies.
better ally and just like do better for my community and like show the fuck up
I
for
just.
trans women of color and like step up,
Yeah.
because like our people are suffering and dying, and it's not acceptable. We need to be doing more.
I don't mean to like sound performative or fake woke or whatever, but I genuinely like want to protect trans women and stand up for them and support them through their lives and everything, and do like whatever I can in my power, to make sure that they have like fulfilling lives, careers, etc., etc. Because they don't deserve all the shit that they get.
Yeah, it's just really, really upsetting.
Yeah.
um,
And like I feel like it needs to be talked about a lot more, because I feel a lot of trans men and trans masculine people in general, especially white trans masculine people and trans men, they have the privilege of they seeing the trans community as like a uniform entity, rather than realizing that they hold privilege over trans women, especially trans women of color. And they act like transphobia affects everyone, equally, or that they just don't like, acknowledge trans women's experiences.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's so important. And I think it's important to still have that sense of like, of we are one community, and we do
Mhm.
need to support each other and help each other, but at the same time acknowledging, when you are in a place of privilege, and like, you know using that privilege to, um, better your community and you know you know
Cause
protect people to
mhm.
the best of your ability and like do it, step up and like pass the mic,
So
share space and like give like make more space for trans women and trans women of color.
I
um,
feel like a lot of trans men and trans mass people, like, I don't know how to word this, but it's almost like they pretend sometimes that they're more oppressed than they actually are, and like a lot of the transphobia that they face,
I feel that.
a lot of the transphobia that trans feminine people and trans women face, like they act like it affects them also, which actually relates to a little some of the discourse in today's topic, which is we're going to be talking about derogatory language, slurs, and
We're gonna talk
how
about like
we can reclaim them.
yeah, reclaiming
Reclaiming language.
language.
So, to set like a groundwork, a little bit of a frame, what do you think is like constitutes a slur?
I feel like this is a harder question than it sounds like. Um, because part of me wants to be just like, yeah, anything that's like a derogatory word or like a negative, something meant to be malicious. But I think it's deeper than that. I think that slurs are usually words that they are like aggressive words that are, derogatory and meant to be malicious, but they also are usually words that have a deeper meaning
Yeah, and they
and
have like a deep history.
yeah, that have a
Of
history of
dehumanizing
violence.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, and often, words that have been used in the past at times of violence towards, or times of physical violence as well towards those groups of people.
And slurs aren't just like mean words. Like they're words that dehumanize people when you call them that and contribute to systematic oppression. But also, I feel like beyond slurs, there's also derogatory language that maybe sometimes it's not always a slur, but it could be used in a way that's almost just as hurtful.
Definitely,
Like,
absolutely.
some examples I can think of off the top of my head are when straight people call gay men fairies. What else? The word trap, which we're going to talk about more later.
Is trap not a slur?
What? Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. No,
I don't
mean,
know.
no,
That's
no,
a great
no.
question.
Yeah.
Is trap a slur? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it is a word that can be used
Yeah.
like with a violent intent.
No,
for
I mean,
sure.
but like, it's not a slur on its own. Like, if you say the word trap.
The word trap on its
Yeah.
own, but like, I
Yeah,
don't.
true, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. You're right. You're right. So I just feel like I think. How do I word this? Like with derogatory language in general, it has like the mindset behind dehumanizing that person, and it might not always have like outright insulting them or calling them slurs, but it's still bad. Like, say you have someone who's developmentally disabled, and throughout the conversation you call them stupid. Like, stupid is not a slur, obviously, but if you're going to use that in that context, it could be used derogatorily. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think that the what is and is not a slur is something that is like going to continue to be a conversation. And I don't think there's like any one person who can be like, yes, this is and this isn't,
Yeah.
Especially with like newer language that's being used now.
But I don't think it really matters, like, defining things into set boxes of, okay, this is a slur and this isn't a slur, because at the end of the day, it's like about deconstructing those mindsets and those ideologies and just, advocating for the deconstruction of oppression of people. So, what now, like, what is reclaiming language? And not just slurs, but also reclaiming jokes as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know that a good amount of the words that I use to identify myself either are or contain some kind of language that was once considered a slur and something that was, used against queer people. Like that word alone.
Yeah.
That word alone.
Yeah, and I have like, sorry to interject here, but in general, like, I avoid using queer as a blanket term because I just don't want to refer to the LGBT community with a slur that a lot of people do not identify with, especially older folk in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
I never use queer as a blanket term, or I never say the queer community, I just say LGBT community. But I know there are some people who do use it as a blanket term.
Definitely. I mean, I find myself doing that all the time.
Yeah.
Just because it's like a word that I use to identify
Yeah.
myself. So I'm like, oh, of course, yeah. But there definitely are people who are not comfortable with that because it is a reclaimed word. Because also a lot of older folks, like you mentioned, literally have traumatic memories of like people calling them that and like attacking them.
Yeah.
You know.
And I feel it's not as bad when you do it because like you are a person who's part of the community, and it's not as bad as like straight people saying queers.
I hate when cishet people are like, "Oh, my queer friend."
I'm queer
like,
because I'm kinky.
Well, not, that too. That's a different thing. But even when like cishet people are talking about LGBT folks and they are like, "Oh, my queer friend," I'm like, that's not like, for like you don't need to do all that.
This is branching off of it, and we were going to talk about this a little bit more later. But people are scared of saying certain words. Like, some people will not say lesbian, they will not say gay, they will not say bisexual. They will just say queer and leave it at that. Like, it's okay. You could say what that person is if they don't identify as queer. Like,
yeah.
I've seen a lot of people refer to lesbians as queer woman, which is, why are you so scared of saying lesbian? It's not a dirty word. It's not a slur. You know.
Yeah.
So, why do people reclaim language and jokes, and like what's the empowerment behind it?
I think that it kind of, calling yourself something that people try to weaponize against you can do a really good job of taking the power away from them.
Yeah.
And like if I'm gonna call myself a faggot,
it's redefining it. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm calling myself a faggot all the time, like that dude who's yelling at me on the street and calling me that, like, is not going to faze me because like, what are you telling me that I don't know? Like, what are you gonna call me that I haven't already called myself?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do to me?
And I feel like a lot of like not just language, but we're reclaiming jokes about like me being trans and me being gay. Like, it's empowering because it's finding some brightness in all the homophobia and all the transphobia, and it's like it's good to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, it's good to laugh at yourself, and it's good to, I don't know, I feel like in a world that is not very accepting and loving towards LGBTQ people, it's really important to not get like all messed up about how negative people can be.
And like a lot of people, oh, music break? Okay.
We're going to take a short musical break and be back. Tell us when we're off air.
Yes, man, we going off air?
Oh my. We're off?
No, on the
Little foggy on my front. It's hard to explain what goes on in my mind. While it's easy to write, the hard thing to find is being open and honest and telling you the truth. Cause if I told you what goes on, all the screws would come loose. But screw it, I know that it's ballsy. If this is what I need, oh, I'm prepared to fight for me. Oh, I know that I can hide from you. You see right through the lies in my eyes, and it's all underneath. If you take the time to scratch the surface, I'll show you where the hurt is. Oh, I know you got good heart. Oh, I know it's been the worst day. Oh, I know I'm self-sufficient, but I need you in the worst way. Oh, although I got good heart, I feel like I don't deserve. Oh, I know I'm self-sufficient, but I need you in the worst way. I've never really been able to defy the feelings I've felt, the way that I left, the things that I've kept. Oh, I've never really been able to look you in the eye, explain to you why, or just to watch you try. I know it breaks your heart, it's hard for me to say you raised me in the best possible way. I know it hurts so much to see me change. You raised me, but I need to stop it. But screw it, and it's all underneath. If you take the time to scratch the surface, show you where the hurt
Reclaiming language can be very empowering and can take power away from oppressors. Like, oh, you're gonna call me that? Well, yeah, fuck yeah, I am that. But like, I also feel there's a lot of cons because sometimes people can do it really self-depreciatively, and sometimes it could be like, oh, you called me that? Well, I am, and then like they dig themselves into a hole. So I do feel it's not always like
Yeah, it's not
super
always
empowering.
positive.
Yeah.
I also find that another like unfortunate part about reclaiming language is that often people who are not part of our communities can feel that because we are calling ourselves something, it means they can.
They're
And like that is
oh,
not
everyone
how it
should
works.
say it.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, well, you're calling yourself queer, you're calling yourself a faggot, you're calling yourself this, whatever. So clearly I'm allowed to use that language for you too. And it's like, you don't understand that like when I call myself that, it is like a reclamation of words that have been like violently used against me. And when you call me that, you are like enacting that.
You
violence.
you are in a position of power above us. Why are you calling us that? Like, there's no reclamation there.
Yeah, it's just like, for me, that is like, I am literally doing the opposite of what you are doing when I'm calling myself that.
So, building off of that, do you find any times where reclaiming language is particularly empowering for you, like affirming?
Yeah, I find that like in queer spaces, when I'm with other people like me,
depends on how long you've known them though. Like, I'm not gonna let someone I met 2 seconds ago call me a slur, but like if we're close friends,
Yeah, I get that. And also just like, I don't know, I've had a lot of shame around a lot of the labels that I use now, especially like, it took me a long time to get like comfortable calling myself a faggot, but it was only after like a million other people were already calling me it. So like, to be in a space where like I could be with other people who had these same experiences and us all calling ourselves these words and feeling empowered by it.
Faggots.
We are all, and like we're not. We're all like, like we're all, and to like joke around and be like, oh yeah, we're all like filthy, sinning faggots. But like, to take that back and to be like, yeah, the fuck we are. Like, so what are you gonna do about it? Like,
I think another thing, like, there's that side, but there's also something I've encountered a lot is there's a lot of discourse over who could use these words, and like there's so much semantics. Like, I've had some people say like, oh, bi men can't use the word faggot, and I'm like, if you see 2 men on the street holding hands, do you think a homophobe is gonna care? Like,
if they're bisexual,
hey, are you
or
bisexual
not?
or not?
Oh yeah, before I call you a faggot, can you please tell me, are you attracted to women?
Yeah,
like, could you just let me know before I use a slur against you? Are you attracted to women?
I think it's a very case by case basis. Like, if a bi guy is like mostly attracted to women and he's like dating a girl and everything and he's out for her most of the time, like, I feel like that's a little bit different. Like, I don't feel he could reclaim in that sense, but at the same time it's like,
yeah,
it's up in the air.
I think a lot of it is like up to the person, and like, has that word been used against you? Like, have
use
people
your
called
brain.
You that? Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people also use slurs to be like edgy and just use like every slur they can when it has never been used against them.
I definitely feel that. There are certain words that like have not been used towards me that could apply to me, but I, choose to not use because
the T slur.
Yeah, definitely the T slur. Like, I don't personally feel comfortable using for myself, even though I've been called that. I have been called that. But I think that when people do call me that, it usually is because they are
Misperceiving you as a trans woman.
Misperceiving me as like as a trans woman or a
And it's
gender
really
non-conforming AMAB person.
That's like how some trans men face misdirected misogyny. Like, that doesn't give you an excuse to say, to reclaim, like, misogynistic language at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the T slur is a lot. I've seen a lot of debate about it, and, like, I feel a lot of trans men reclaim it to be edgy or to, like, sound cool. And it's like, think about it for a second. Would someone on the street call you that slur? Because, like, a lot of trans men, a lot of the oppression we face is rooted more so in, oh, you're just a tomboy, or oh, you're just a masculine girl, or, like, misdirected lesbophobia sometimes with straight trans men. But it's not anything like, oh, you're the T slur. That's something that's rooted more in trans misogyny, both historically and nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and even when I do get called that, I still, like, feel, I don't know, I feel like, it often is, like, not, like, I feel like it usually is, like, a misconception that the other person is having about me, which, like, is my reality. Like, the reality is, like, when people find out I'm trans, they don't know if I'm, like, they don't know if I'm a trans woman or a trans man, and I get people like, guess what, bitch, neither. But like, you know, that is my reality, but I still feel like that language is not for me.
We're gonna start inventing non-binary slurs.
Stop, we don't need to. But there is other language that like is used towards me that I truly feel like, you know, I can take back and make mine.
Honestly, just like we were claiming slurs, I don't like it's. I feel a lot of people they're like a checklist, like, oh, am I exclusively attracted to men? Like, don't. Whatever, just use your brain.
So I'm not exclusively attracted to men, and I'm not a man, right?
Yeah,
but like the fact is, like, you know, like if I'm walking, you know, like I'm walking around outside and I'm holding someone that other people perceive as a man's hand, or even if I'm not, truly, if I'm just existing in my body as it is, and as I dress and as I like to
people
exist,
gonna call you,
people will assume that I am a gay man,
a faggot,
a faggot. And that's just a fact. Like, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter how I identify in this situation, as awful as that sounds, because like
I've heard some people say that trans women can't say faggot, and I'm like, how do you think society sees trans women? Like, I genuinely want to know what goes on in your head.
I think trans women can say whatever they want.
I think trans women should have rights.
Wow. I think as far as, like, gender and sexuality words, I think trans women have a pretty big pass.
Because, like, they're really at the bottom of this community.
Like, the way that violence is enacted on them, I don't think that, like, anybody else in a position of privilege should be, like, policing that language.
I think, like, it's a thin line between, like, how does society perceive you, like, use your brain, and don't think so much about, like, a checklist of boxes. And I also, like, some things are just misdirected. Like, I do not think that trans men should use the D slur. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, but then there are some trans men that, like, relate really strongly to lesbianism and, like, want to hold that still tight. Yeah. And I don't know. And I have feelings about that, too, you know? But a big part of me...
most of the time, it's just, like, why do men want to use a D slur so badly, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But, like, also part of me is, like, well, who am I to tell someone how they... like, if you, like, you know, how they should identify. But like, it definitely gets sticky, and it gets, like, complicated and weird.
Because, like, it just... At the end of the day, like, they're still a man. They still hold... They're not a lesbian. They still hold power over lesbians. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely is complicated.
Anyways, we're going to end this with... We're all going to say slur.
All of us? I've already said quite a few.
I already said quite a few slurs.
But yeah, let's just wrap up the conversation we were having. Yeah. I do think it can be, like, super, super affirming to use this language back for myself, and take that back. And, I mean, like, it can even, I've gotten to points where it can be, like, a love language almost for me and my friends and my partner, like, you know, to, like, grab my partner's cheek and be like, oh, my cute little faggot baby.
I
like,
hate that.
it's so, yeah.
My faglings!
But, like, you know, just to, like, really take that back and make it so that that word has zero power, because by using this language, Like that, like this language, literally, no matter who says it to me, it has no power to me. It means nothing. Like, you cannot hurt me anymore.
Before we fully close off, I just want to say that no matter like where you're in the LGBT community, I think it's worth looking into the history of not just slurs, but it in like the community in general. Because once you learn the power these words have, you'll think twice about like using the word queer so freely or like using it as a blanket term, etc., etc. And you'll just in general learn a lot more about yourself in the process. So look into your history.
Shout out all you people online on IG, on platforms.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're getting people on here.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi, people on our Instagram.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and watching with us today.
We love you.
Talking about our experiences and our feelings about reclaimed language.
Mhm.
Yeah. We only have, this is actually really sad to share, we only have one episode left.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. The last day is June 7th, I believe, is our last show.
Then we all die immediately after.
No, we don't.
Talk about next week.
We're gonna, next week is gonna be our last show. It's gonna be our final show.
We have this show next
It's the
week.
grand
But the 14th we're not
finale.
broadcasting.
Right, but we're gonna be
Yeah.
interviewed. You guys are gonna be interviewed on
That is
Sirius
true.
XM
Yeah.
radio show.
So we have two things coming up. We have our final episode is gonna be June 7th. It's gonna be the last episode. We're going to be talking about World Pride. But we also will be having a feature on Sirius XM where we'll be doing an interview and we're going to be live streaming that, and that is next week, I believe. So we're going to have two more, but June 7th will be the last day.
During World Pride, we all share one gender, the human gender.
Bailey from Mine Over Melon podcast said hi.
Hi, Bailey.
Hi.
And then Bailey also said, "I hope it ends better than Game of Thrones." So.
I do not watch Game of Thrones, so I don't know what goes on there.
I
she's
do not
hoping the
watch, but I
ending
heard
here.
that it was a really awful ending. I heard that it ended really boringly,
Yeah,
and
so
that
she's
that
hoping that
was.
we end a lot better.
No, we're gonna have a giant climactic ending. We're gonna do something crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all better wait.
We all come to your house
Alright.
and kill you instantly. After
We
this.
don't do that. We do not that.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Let's plug all the social medias real quick.
Oh.
Yeah, real quick. So the Facebook is Tea4T, Tea4T show. Our Instagram is Tea4T, T-A, the number 4, and then T. And then our Twitter is Tea4T official, spelled the same way. And once more, let's do our names and Instagrams. I'm Frankie, and my Instagram is Frankie_Wiener, and that's Wiener.
I'm Sipta, and my Instagram is Clown Creature. Also, I just want to put out there that like I learned the term Tea4T, like T, the number 4T is like an actual thing in the trans community.
Oh yeah, that's why we picked it.
I did not know
I took
that.
a big part in picking
I
that
didn't
name.
know that.
Yeah.
I was like, woo.
Yeah, we picked that on purpose.
And
We
I-
did that. All right, thank you all for coming. Tune in again. So next week, what day will we be at Sirius XM?
The 28th.
So the 28th, and it's going to be around 11 a.m., right?
Yeah, so we're gonna probably go live about 12. Or
We're
so.
probably, yeah, so we're going to, around noonish on the 28th, which is next week, a
And
week
if you
from
can't
today.
wake up that early or you're at school, then that's totally fine. Just like
You
rewatch
can watch
it later.
yeah. And we're going to be on Sirius XM on a talk show getting interviewed, which is going to be so cool. So y'all want to see that.
We're gonna be famous.
Um, So yeah, thank you so much. We will see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yay, we did it.
Finally.